Hello, everyone, and welcome to Burn the Ship, the podcast that helps entrepreneurs go all in on their business, and we introduce them to professionals that can help them to do so. Today, we have a very special guest. Tim, how are you doing today?
I'm doing wonderful.
Excellent, excellent. Please introduce yourself and the name of your business.
Yeah, I'm Tim Hanigan, and I am with Prairie Tool Company.
Awesome. We so look forward to learning more about your business. But before we jump into that, we want to learn a little bit more about your story. So tell us a little bit about your journey, Tim.
Yeah, absolutely. Growing up, I was always good at math and science, and if I'm like a lot of people, I have no idea what I wanted to do in this life, and so kind of went to school, was going to play sports, play in the major leagues. That obviously never happened. So I listened to my guidance counselor in high school for about 3 seconds. She said, "Have you thought about engineering?" I said, "Okay." I literally made my decision to go to school on that 30-second conversation, and got my engineering degree and got out of college and said, "Well, now what do I want to do?" And that's when I started to figure out that, hey, I kind of have this interest in owning a business, and so I just started studying in the background, reading books, learning how to read financial documents, leadership. Went back and got my MBA.
Mm-hmm.
But all the while, I worked for a manufacturing company, worked as a manufacturing engineer, switched companies, worked as a production manager, ended up going back to the original company, worked my way up into a plant manager role and a senior operations role, where at times led over 400 people in global footprint. And so really just grew my leadership journey as I expanded my career. Worked in different manufacturing segments. Worked in machine shop setting, worked in just general production, worked in a stamping and molding place, and so just really had a good general industry knowledge. But all the while had this burning desire to kind of own my own business, do my own thing, but just never really had that spark and or that inventor moment. And so just continue to grow in my career, climb the corporate ladder, and until I ended up here.
Excellent. Now tell us a little bit about your experience going from, being an engineer, dealing with numbers and math and things like that, the different projects. Tell us, how did you get accustomed to handling 400 employees at once? Tell us a little bit about that challenge and how you were able to overcome that.
Yeah, of course, as an engineer, right, everything's black and white. Numbers
Mm-hmm.
add up or they don't add up, and it's yes or no type world. But then as you deal with people, it's a lot more complicated. We're not always logical, and there's a lot of other factors and variables that go into that. And so you really have to work through teams. There's no way to manage 400 people with one person. And so I had developed a great team. We had about 30 staff members that oversaw the 400 and in the various roles, and each team department had their own metrics. We had to hit our KPIs, and really taught me how a high level company can run, and really grew me as a person, because every day was different. You're dealing with something from one team or something from another. And so you really just put your problem solving hat on, which was great to have that engineering background. But at the end of the day, it's still dealing with people. It's building relationships, building trust, communication. All those things is important no matter what role you're in a big company, little company, and you just have to flex those muscles every day to get better at it.
Yeah, awesome, awesome. I have these shows all the time, and I have entrepreneurs come on and they drop jewels all the time. Well, you just shared, hey, you got to have a team, you got to delegate things. But you said something that I have never heard before, but it's so true. Humans are not logical. That is awesome. That's what I picked up out of that, Tim, because I was like, that is true. So true. Now you're growing your industry knowledge. You're just growing in your career, matriculating through things, and then something had to happen because you always had the idea of having a business, and then you're studying for being an entrepreneur, but you hadn't did it just yet. Tim, was there a spark or was there an event that happened that made you say, you know what, I'm going to burn my ship and go all in on myself?
Yeah, absolutely. There was, I had put down roots here in the city we're in. We're in Aberdeen, South Dakota. Family, kids live here, and so it's home. But the company I worked for had grown with and was in a pretty good leadership position there, decided that they were going to pull out of Aberdeen. They're going to move the facility back to their corporate campus, and some of it would go overseas, and we weren't leaving. And so then, a lot of people here, basically you're out of a job in the near future. And I was determined at that moment, one, like, this is not going to define me. This is not going to be a situation where I take a step back, and having this desire to always own my business. I immediately went to work brainstorming on what's next. And the nice thing was I had a very good knowledge of the facility I worked in, and I knew that we had a machine shop in there that the company likely wouldn't want to move. So, 18 hours after the announcement, I went to approach the leadership and said, I'd like to buy the machine shop, and I would like to keep here in Aberdeen, and keep the business of what we do with you guys here, and retain our machinists, and look to start my own company. And I got a lot of great signs. Of course, I had, inside knowledge that they would be very interested in that. And so that conversation went super well. And so I just went to work. And you know what? I didn't really know how to buy a business, but, you just start figuring out, like any entrepreneur, you're going to, one roadblock in front of you, you figure it out. And so I had a good network here in town of lawyers. I'd worked on a couple boards, so I had connections, and just started making phone calls. Like, how do I do this? I knew a few bankers in town, and just started having those conversations to figure it out, and put together a plan on how I would buy the equipment, and put together a business plan, all that stuff, talk to my local SBA, all that, get a business plan in place, et cetera, et cetera. And the wonderful thing about it is when you start to put these things out in the universe, things happen. And I ended up getting approached by the owner of Prairie Tool at the time. He was looking to retire, and said, hey, don't start your own machine shop and buy mine. Everything that you need to do, that you're looking at doing, I have the equipment already to do. Let's just bring that idea over, and let you continue this business. So we've got 9 wonderful employees that have been at this company. I think the lowest number of years at that point was 14 years, all the way up to 30 some years. And so it was an amazing team. And right away I was just like, hey, this makes a lot of sense. And that was just the tip of the iceberg. There was a lot more work behind it, but that was really my burn the ship moment. Was, hey, I got to figure out what's next in life, and I was determined to making something good out of it.
Awesome. I love that story of adaptation. Now Tim is a business owner, and he owns Prairie Tools. Tell us all about it. What are you guys doing over there?
Yeah, so Prairie Tool Company is our primary niche is mold making. So we make plastic injection molding, small to medium-sized molds for any molder, domestically, or we could ship internationally if needed. And we have a wonderful team, like I said, experienced tool makers that can handle just about any complex issue, part. We actually get involved with a lot of our molders that we send parts to in the design side to say, hey, tweak parts, change it in this way, that way, make the mold a little bit simpler to build, make it simpler for you to run on your end. And so we dabble a little bit of that in the consulting side as well before we get jobs. And then we build wonderful high precision steel molds that are, I consider a thing of beauty. And really, we have the high precision equipment, CNC machines, et cetera. But at the end of the day, it's like a piece of art, the way I look at it, that these things can come together, and we have tolerances of less than a thousandth of an inch, and that's way thinner than a piece of hair, and yet we're able to hit those and maintain it, and ultimately deliver the product that the end customer ends up wanting.
Yeah. Now I was looking through the website, and I saw a lot of automobiles on the website. Is it automobile parts, bumpers, mats? What are you guys doing? Tell us a little bit about what you're producing.
Yeah, it's honestly whatever the end customer wants, right? So they're going to come to us. We do have some automotive customers that whatever part they may want, it may be a shroud for an engine, maybe a fan for the motor. So if you name it, we've probably built some sort of version across any industry, medical, et cetera. But so the customer will come to us with the part, say, we need a mold built for it. Sometimes they might be working through a molder. Sometimes they'll come directly to us, and then we take that part, We use the CAD software and form up the quote, and ultimately when we win, we get to build that mold and all the complexity that go with it, and put it together and ship it out. And we don't consider the process done until they get an inspect part, and so we follow through with make sure if there's any changes that they need, if there's anything that's not 100% right, we bring it back and we fix it and get it back to the customer as quick as we can.
Awesome. Now, you've done a magnificent job of illustrating what it is that you're doing. Tell us a little bit about that client you're trying to get in front of. If there was a client I can just create right now that's perfect for you, what do they look like?
Yeah, if you're a mold shop that doesn't do any tooling, doesn't have a tool room, we're perfect for them. We can do all sorts of types of tools, not just plastic injection molding. We do some other tools as well that we get involved with. So call us up and ask questions, and we'll be able to help. If we can't do it, we let you know. We're honest, we're upfront. We want to be able to help people, and if we're not the right ones, we'll help find the right person for you. But while we do, plastic injection molding, like we said, is our main thing. We get involved in a lot of other stuff. We do production runs, CNC machining, we do tooling, and we'll dabble in any other type of molds that a customer wants, and we have the capabilities to do.
Good deal. Good deal. Now, Tim, I'm sure that over your time going from being in school, learning, about being an engineer, actually applying it, becoming one, even a higher up in a leadership role, and now owning your own business, you have acquired and nurtured some business skills or best practices that have helped you to be successful. Do you mind sharing with the audience today some of those practices that they may add to their mix?
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things that we always look at, and maybe this is my engineer mind speaking, is systematize as much as you can. So when I came into Prairie, start developing systems around how we're going to quote, so we get consistent, accurate quotes and do it really quick. We've updated other systems. We're in the process of working. In previous places I've worked, we're ISO certification. We had the ISO 9000 certification, and so we're starting that progress towards that certification and getting it applied. We have basically all the processes in place, and systematize everything, which really just helps our collaboration. Our name is Prairie Tool Company, which is PTC, and we've started talking internally now that I've been there for a little while. The PTC stands for Precision, Transformation, and Collaboration. And so we're really trying to hone in on those values, but then systematize everything behind it. The other thing I would say in terms of people out there that might be listening, that might be in a similar situation like me, that just don't have that idea yet, is, there are businesses out there. There's a ton of businesses that have baby boomer generation as the owner that may not have a succession plan. So your entrepreneurial journey might not be, created that spark or that idea internally, but you can, just like me, find a way to find that business owner that might be willing to retire, that doesn't have a succession plan that you might have industry knowledge of. And I encourage anybody to go approach them and just have those conversations. You never know what you learn. I would have never ran into this if I didn't have my burn the ship moment. But I guess my suggestion would be, don't wait for that moment and start planning ahead and having those conversations now, and might be able to fulfill your dreams that way.
Yes, makes a lot of sense. Don't wait, because time is not waiting. It's going to keep on rolling. Now, I definitely appreciate you sharing with us about your journey, talking about your business. I appreciate you sharing those business skills. I think those are vitally important for others to add to their mix. Now, I want to turn the page just a little bit, and I want to talk about Tim. Now, Tim, let's just say that the business is continuing on its positive path. Time and money is not an issue. What is it that Tim would do with his time?
Yeah, obviously I enjoy working. I enjoy the place. I wouldn't do it. So I enjoy seeing the success and what we can build. But if I wasn't there, I'd probably be out seeking adventure. When there's a storm rolling through the Midwest and it's close enough and it fits in my schedule, I'll go chase a tornado. Love traveling. Gone on shark diving. Obviously in cages, but something to seek out thrill. We always joke in my family, like, if there's not a little bit of sense of fear, it's not really that fun. So we try to seek out things that make us really feel alive a little bit. And I'd probably just be bouncing around from whatever hobby is sparking that interest in me.
Yes, yes. Now, you don't have a big container with a bunch of balls that fly up with Pepsi Cola cans attached to them, do you, Tim?
No, we're very much amateurs. We're just there to watch, and we're not the ones driving through the middle or driving up
Okay,
close. We're
okay.
staying miles away. So, but it is really cool to see, and then we always keep our fingers crossed that it's out in the cornfield and not near anybody.
Yeah, Twister came straight to mind, both the old one and the new one. I've always loved those shows. Now, for yourself, I know you're talking about the fearful adventures. Do you have anything on the calendar, like a skiing trip or swimming the English Channel? Anything crazy like that coming up?
Maybe not as crazy as swimming the English Channel, but we do. The kids are now getting into snowboarding, and so we
Mm-hmm.
plan to head to the Rapid City area in
Okay.
South Dakota and do some snowboarding this winter again, and kind of scratch that itch of adventure that way.
Yes, good deal. Now, Tim, I definitely appreciate you sharing that personal part. I always like the entrepreneurs that are watching to understand there is purpose behind you having this business, and that's making sure that you're able to check off some of those things for yourself and for your family. Now, if they do have questions about your journey, about those skills you shared, or your business, what's the best way for them to get in contact with you?
Yeah, absolutely. You can go to our website, it's prairietool.net, and we're going to have all our contact information out there, phone number. There's a contact form on there. It sends an email directly to me. I'm going to review that every day and respond. So if you have any questions at all, call, send that email through the website, and get a hold of us.
Awesome, awesome. Tim, we truly do appreciate you coming on the show today. And for all of our guests that come on, we honor them because it's not easy to share those ups, downs, all arounds, those future plans. And we want to make sure to give you the last word. So, Tim, please look into the camera and tell the people something good.
Yeah, my suggestion is just do it. If you've been thinking about doing something, you've been thinking about an idea, owning a business, whatever it is, start having those conversations. Visit your local resources, whether it's an SBA, whether it's an entrepreneur network. Just go do it. And I feel like most people are going to be more resourceful than they even give themselves credit for. You're going to be able to figure out the challenges, and ultimately you got to do the work. It's not easy. But if you're willing to do the work and put the time in, I think most people would be surprised at how far they can go. And so my suggestion is just go do it.
Awesome, awesome. Thank you so much for coming on the show with us today, Tim.
Yeah, I appreciate you having me.
Of course. And to everyone that is watching, be kind and thanks.